Good evening, guys, and welcome to Lee Judges TV. We are back. We're leaving it a little bit late and a little bit last minute. The reason we've done that is because that is what Arsenal Football Club are doing right now, it seems. Welcome to everybody in the chat room. Great to see you all. Welcome to everybody listening on audio. I brought some guests with me. Unfortunately, Lee Judges is going to be a little bit late, but he is going to be on when he arrives home. First of all, we have the lovely, the wonderful Sophie Nicolau from Highbury Squad. How are you, Soph?
I am pretty epic. I live in hope. The sky's not falling yet. Hello.
It's the hope that kills you, mate. It's the hope that kills you. That's what everyone always says, isn't it? But let's hope. Let's be hopeful. Also joining me is from the Gooner Talk, Tom Canton. Tom, how you doing?
Hold on. Sophie was lovely and great. I'm just Tom from the Gooner Talk.
Well, if you want a better introduction, then come on next time, and I'll write some script out.
At least I'm here on time. That's something.
This is true.
I dread to think what your intro for Lee's going to be.
Oh, he doesn't get one. Lee, right, that's it, done. Let's crack on. That's all Lee gets for being late yet again. He's always bloody late for his own bloody channel, I tell you. Unbelievable. Anyway, guys, we've got loads to talk about, to be honest with you. It's been an unbelievable month, and it's still not over, and I can't wait for this month to just end. It's been hell most of the time. And I look at the situation at Arsenal right now, and it's a pretty sorry time. We've been leaving it lastminute.com as we all expected, but what we are doing is very, very active with outgoings. We've seen Kolasinac go, we've seen Pablo Mari go. Today has got rid of Callum Chambers, we've let him go. Balogun on loan, Maitland-Niles on loan. Anyone coming in? Would be nice if we could sign someone, please. That would be fantastic. Having said that, even if we do go and sign 15 million trillion players in the last 4 days, the damage is already done because we're out of both cups, and we needed the players to come in anyway to try and stay in those competitions. But of course, when you say that to a section of the fan base, they say it doesn't matter about cups, it's top four that matters, even though they'll say in the same breath that top six is what they're after and it's progress. I don't get the fan base, I'm afraid. They're a very confusing bunch. Let's start with you, Tom. Try and cheer us up, mate, because you try and look at things positively. I'm going to ask you this question, and I want you to answer it truthfully. How could you sum up?
Not ever.
Well,
expect from me.
Well, no, I expect the truth, but what I was more meaning was it's very hard to answer this question, I suppose. Sum up Arsenal on and off the pitch this January. There we go. I'll leave it broad for you, mate, because there's a lot to talk about, and I don't really know where to start, mate, because so much has gone on this month. So start on the pitch, and then we'll talk a little bit off the pitch, and then I'll come to Sophie, because I know Sophie's got some strong opinions on this subject.
Always.
So over to you, Canton.
Me strong opinions? No.
On the pitch, started off really promisingly. Until Granit Xhaka gave that penalty away, and ever since that moment, it's gone very, very downhill since then. But yeah, as I say, that those first 60-odd minutes were quite nice, but since then it's gone down. Red cards, penalties being given away, naive decisions in the transfer market, letting Ainsley Maitland-Niles go. Now in a situation where we can't bring anyone in. We've used a lot of this window trying to bring in Dusan Vlahovic, which, I've got my appreciation for. However, if by the end of this window we've brought no striking reinforcement in, it's going to be very and rightfully easily criticising of. And regarding what that's meant for kind of the cup competitions, as you said, Dan, we're now out of both of those. And simply, it's of our own making. There is no defence for what we've seen. Yes, we face struggles of COVID and injuries, but Ainsley Maitland-Niles being allowed to leave, we've let tons of players leave. A ridiculous amount. We've let one go today, just as before we came on the show, that shocked everybody, and that could come back to bite us if we don't sign someone else in that position now. I think that leaves us a bit short. Callum Chambers going to Aston Villa. Marie's obviously left as well. So 3 natural centre-backs. You could add Tomiyasu in that to make a fourth, but then you've got to play Cedric at right-back, which isn't the most attractive idea in the world. So I think that there's been a lot of naivety about how we've played, about how we've managed games during the matches from Arteta's perspective, and how Edu has approached this transfer window.
And Tom, do you think that when you look at Edu and Arteta's job, Edu waited till the last minute, well, for most of the transfer windows that's come so far. So is he part-time at Arsenal then? Does he just work 4 days a year? Or like, how does it work with Edu? Like, what's he doing for the rest of the time? Because as far as I'm concerned, Tom, when that window's shut in the summer, Edu and Arteta get together and say, right, who do you think that we still missed out on and where are our gaps? Who are we going to start to target? A lot can change, but what are the sort of positions that we want? I need 5 of those targets to start now. Looking at who's unavailable, looking at who is available, looking at who's unsettled, who might be willing to come to the Arsenal. And it looked as if they've put all their eggs in the basket of Vlahovic and Arta, and it looks like now both the deals might not be done. So is this, this is just the way the transfer window goes? Because I hear that quite a lot. Or do Edu and Arteta actually have to have quite a lot of blame here for leaving this quite late and leaving us quite short?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of blame is deserving of them, because as I touched upon, like the crux of this window goes back to that Ainsley Maitland-Niles deal. Like, I could wax lyrical about the naivety of that decision. Even when people discuss it and say, well, he was pushing for a move, like he wanted to leave. Sometimes you have to pull rank. It's not like Arteta's been shy about pulling rank on players at the club. So why a conversation wasn't had that, look, Thomas Partey's going to the AFCON, Mohamed El Neni's going to the AFCON, Granit Xhaka was positive with COVID at the point, and they knew that he was positive at COVID at the point that they allowed him to leave. And we then had that game at Nottingham Forest, too, a very decent championship side. And we went there with Lokonga and Patino as our central midfield, and Cedric, and starting Tavares, who was hooked after 30 minutes, and then Nketiah starting up top. It wasn't good enough, and we did that to ourselves. We put ourselves in that position. We could have gone through the FA Cup and, had a real good crack at winning that competition this season without European football to worry about. But we shot ourselves in the foot. So yes, Dan, absolutely, blame falls at the feet of both Arteta and Edu for the lack of signings this window and for the naivety of the decisions in the market, especially at the beginning of the window with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. What I will say to just slightly balance things is, whilst I know there's a lot of satirical nature in the whole part-time thing, things do go on, as we've seen with this Chambers thing, that we just aren't aware of. Like, things are going on in the background, things do happen that we don't know about. And I'm hoping, and I'm hoping, and I mean, when we have our next show, Dan, and we discuss this after the window's closed and no one's come in, we can sit here and I can sit here categorically and say we wasted January utterly and entirely. But with there being days left, and you know what Arsenal are like, we pulled off things in the last few moments, things can change. But it will be frustrating that we didn't get that sorted, and we'll start asking the questions of why it wasn't sorted much earlier.
Yeah, we've got a few super chats, guys. Get your super chats in. We want to read some of these out in a little while. I'm just going to come to Sophie first, though. Sophie, what's your opinions of off-the-field stuff? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's had a huge impact on the field stuff, because we've been left short, as Tom said. We're now out of both of the domestic cups, and it's just as if people brush it aside. I was gutted losing not just the Carabao Cup, because I thought that we really could have got past Liverpool with some of the players that they had missing, and I definitely didn't expect to get dumped out by Nottingham Forest. And it just seems to me as if like it wasn't our priority, so it doesn't matter. This is the FA Cup that Arteta won, which people were lauding about still only last week, by the way. So why is it now that our priorities have changed to the league and the top 4? We aren't in Europe. This madness.
Amazing, isn't it? The FA Cup love coupons are relevant when it suits, and then they become irrelevant when we get knocked out of the competition 2 years running. I see KC's in chat saying nonsense. Looking at talking to targets is one thing. Getting the players in you want is a different thing altogether. Well, we credit Edu and Arteta for the summer. And I think the point here is that we found ourselves in an improbable situation to finish in top 4. No one thought that we would be in top 4. Maybe some of you did. I certainly didn't. And I think if we're all honest, most of the Arsenal fan base didn't think that we would find ourselves in this situation. So now we are here. What are we doing about it as a club? And the point is that we had 2 games against Liverpool in the League Cup to get to Wembley to face a Chelsea team that, let's be honest, we've scored at Wembley in cup competitions over the last few seasons. We had the FA Cup game against Forest, as you both rightly bring up. Another competition that Arsenal owns. But what we've done now is all the hard work from August to December, I think, has been almost undone. And I only say almost undone because there's still 4 more days to go. And I live in hope that for the reasons that Tom says, that things are going on behind the scenes that we don't quite know about, i.e. the Callum Chambers deal to Aston Villa. Well, if we're really after Douglas Luiz at Aston, who is at Aston Villa, right? Why wouldn't that be part of the Chambers deal? Why wouldn't we be talking about that? Why wouldn't we be negotiating in that way? It seems like we've put all our eggs in the Vlahovic basket. We put all our eggs in the Artur basket. And now we're going back and reverting perhaps to the Arsenal panic buying syndrome that we've seen in transfers past. So for me, the point is that if you have the opportunity to get back into Europe, the route was the FA Cup and finishing, in the top 4 in the league. Once one goes, the other one it becomes even a harder task, and we haven't followed through on that. You let Maitland-Niles go, you let Kolasinac go, you get Mari go. And it's not because we all want them at the club or we think they're great players, but you can't be remiss to not replace them and have a plan. And if there are players that come in, great. But the point is, it feels like there's a less of a plan this January than there was in the summer. And it feels like we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. It's almost like Vegas, right? You get to the end of the night and you're down and you think, F it, I'm just going to go all in. And it feels like that's what we're kind of doing right now. We've whiffed on Bruno. The Isaac thing doesn't seem real. Neves now being talked about. Are Wolves really going to let Neves go? Is Gerrard really going to let Luiz go? Unless he has another plan, yeah, maybe. But now you're relying on other clubs to sacrifice players at this late juncture in order to make some of these deals happen. So I think that we're missing a golden opportunity here. And I hope that in the next few days, miracles can happen.
Well, we need them to happen, Sophie. We really do. And before I bring Super Chats up, I want to have a say on this because I got quite a lot of abuse and stick, as I always do when I make an opinion of late. I put on Twitter around about the 1st, I think it was the 8th or 9th of January, and I said, we really need some players here if we want to stay in these competitions. Calm down, not even a week in yet. Look, no one else has done anything. 2 weeks in, I said the same thing. Are we going to get any players, or are we going to go out both of these cups being depleted? Oh, look, no one else has signed anybody. Just calm down, it's taking forever. 3 weeks later, it looks like we're signing Vlahovic, Dan. Everyone's been negative. Trust Arteta. He gets Vlahovic and Bruno Guimaraes in, and everyone will be happy. Yeah, let's hope we do. 4 weeks later, tumbleweed. Where are they all now? Where's everyone telling me to be quiet now? I said on the 8th of January that we need to get these players in. Doesn't matter now. The damage is already done. I don't care who we sign now because we're not playing until the window shuts. So I don't really understand why people thought this was going to be any different. This process is not trustworthy because it's got the same owner in charge who's messed things up for the last, 15 years? So I can't get behind a process where the guy gives money to people and doesn't care where he spends it on because he's too busy watching everything over in the States. This is a transfer window that could have potentially put us towards the top 4. So when people say trust the process, this is why I do not trust it, because the people in charge don't care. The board are absolutely clueless. Edu's too busy to go and get players in. And Arteta, by the looks of things, is running back to America saying, please give me more money. I've only had $250,000. Please give me more money. So what is actually going on at this club? It's an absolute mess. There's a bunch of clowns running it. And unfortunately, then when you hire clowns, expect a circus, because that's all you ever get.
Dan, was he going there to ask for more money, or was he going there to discuss an extension to his deal?
Well, this is a great question, Soph, and it's something I was going to ask you both, actually, because it's came up yesterday or the day before when I was talking to a few people, and they said, he's gone for more money. We don't know that he's gone for that. We do know that there was rumours that a 2-year extension was going to be given to him, whatever, even if he finished 18th in the league. This guy was going to get a new 2-year contract because they love him so much. So it could be that they're going to be getting him a new 2-year contract. I have no idea. I'd like to think it was to discuss what's happening right now with our depleted squad. Now, he could have gone there and had a meeting behind the scenes with Tim Lewis, who is, by the way, in my opinion, just an asset stripper. And that is exactly what we seem to be doing at the moment, just getting rid of players. So I have no idea what this plan is. Plan A, let's be honest, is now flawed. Vlahovic is no longer a plan A. Neither is Arteta. There is no plan B as far as I'm concerned, because in 15 minutes today, I got sent 5 messages from 5 different people with 5 different players we were linked with in that moment. Now, that to me says that we are just an absolute journalist dream of a club, aren't we, the Arsenal? Because and then I saw a Dan Gotti rumour was the best one today. Dan Gotti's taken over. Give it to him again, because this guy's no good. This comes out all the time. Whenever Arsenal fans start to question the process, it's all of a sudden Dan Gotti comes in and says, "Oh, I'll take you over." I'm sick and tired of it, man. This is why we called this episode the Arteta Roundabout. Do you know what we should have called it? The Arsenal Roundabout. Because that's what it is. It doesn't matter who's in charge of this club. We go round and round in circles. We leave everything till the last minute again. And now we're in a situation where we need at least 4 or 5 players in 4 or 5 days. What an absolute shout. If anybody can sit there and defend this, and please explain to me why we should be trusting what we're seeing in front of our eyes, please give it a go. I'd love to debate it with you, because this is not a trustworthy process. I'm going to come to some super chat.
Sorry, Kev. Sorry. I'm used to saying sorry,
call
Kev.
me Kev.
Sorry,
Kev. It's an insult to Kev, but I'll take it. Do you know what I mean?
We did spend more money than any club in the world in the summer.
Yep.
It's not that we haven't spent the money.
That's never my argument. Spending money is never my argument. Look at what we've spent it on, is my argument. Xhaka, Mustafi, Socrates, players like Nicola Pepe, players like we can keep going on to the previous regime if we'd like, but I kind of.
Well, they were all of the previous regime, weren't they? The ones you named.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying, Tom. Nothing has changed.
Let's not forget the Willians. Let's not forget the Runnersons. Let's not forget the Pablo Maris. Let's not forget the Cedrics. Let's not forget.
Which have happened in a new regime where apparently we're learning lessons from last process. How is Willian learning a lesson? How is David Luiz learning a lesson? It is absolute shambolic what we're seeing. But people will say calm down, because there's still 4 or 5 days, so 4 or 5 players can come in. And even if 4 or 5 players do come in, this is not how we want to see the transfer window. This is not good for Arsenal Football Club. So I don't understand why people can sit and start explaining how this is just normal. This is just not normal at the moment. Tom, let me come to you, and then we'll come into some super chats, because there's some that are coming in which are all great, and I want to get to them because they're very, very interesting questions. But I've got to ask you this, Tom. What would make this window a saviour? What would save the bacon of Edu and Arteta right now? If you sat there and said, "Wow, we've left it late, but look at these." You don't have to give me names. What would be a good window for Arsenal with only 4 days left now?
Wow. I mean, to turn around this window to call it good is going to take something pretty special. So for it to be a good window, you'd have to look at a significant striker reinforcement. And I'm not talking, say, like a Luka Jovic on loan. I'd take that over nothing. But that's not what would define this window as good. You'd have to sign one of those midfielders we've been linked to, be that a Douglas Luiz, be that a Bruno Guimaraes, or an Arter on loan. I rate Arter. I like Arter. So any of those 3, plus that striker. And now, like, if we're speaking honestly, we've left ourselves short in defence. Like, we were talking about the possibility of buying a right back because Tomiyasu got injured, and Cedric is still coming back from an injury, and has shown, both of them have shown that they've suffered with problems. And we've made ourselves even shorter there. I like some of the kids that are coming through. Rekic, of course, has played at the AFCON at the moment. Alabiosu is really highly rated too. But you can't, if we're going for 4th, we can't put the pressure on the couple of 20 and unders to take on those roles. So a good window, Dan, is, as I said, a reinforcement at striker, one of those central midfielders that I've mentioned, and now arguably a defensive reinforcement as well. That, for me, would turn it around. But that's very, very unlikely at this stage.
It really is, and I've got to bring 3 super chats in because they're all relevant to what we've been talking about. First of all, from Chaitanya, absolute legend, brilliant listener, always whacking in super chats. We do appreciate you, Chaitanya. Thank you so much for regularly listening and regularly coming back. So this is embarrassing from Edu and Arteta. Aston Villa have managed to sign key players, and we somehow have not. Where is the accountability? Another season wasted. I can't disagree at the moment with anything you've just said, Chaitanya. Excuse me. Wayne Sager says, really, anybody know the last time Maitland-Niles last played for Arsenal? It was November the 20th, and we aren't missing him, and we won't. Well, let me just reply to that just right now. Because the last time that Maitland-Niles played, who got man of the match for Arsenal? He did. And we haven't seen him since. And he's been playing at right back for Roma and got man of the match apparently last weekend, which is a position that we do need to cover as well. He's a player that could give us athleticism in midfield that was an upgrade on young Charlie Patino, who I think is going to have a great career in football, whether it be at Arsenal or whoever, but is not ready. And prove why he wasn't ready. Maitland-Niles would have been a definite upgrade on playing Erdegaard dropping deep and Lokonga in on his own, anchoring the midfield, who, by the way, I want to come to in a minute because I feel so sorry for this kid. 21 years old and he's been thrown under the bus many a time, now told to go and sit next to Erdegaard or Patino. Just hold the midfield on your own, mate, while the other two clowns are getting sent off who are supposed to be our senior players. I feel sorry for the kid, I really do. I don't think we should be judging his performances in the last few games, I really don't. So that's how I'll answer that one. We aren't missing him and we won't. Well, actually, we have missed him because we're out of both cups in a position where I believe we were very, very short that could have covered. Would we have won those games with Maitland-Niles? Who knows? Maybe we wouldn't have. But it certainly would have been a better upgrade and an option on what we had. And we've got another couple of super chats here. Sophie, I'm going to give this one to you actually because I know you've spoken quite highly on this player in terms of sorry, not highly. You've had an opinion on this player, should I say? This is from TAVFC. It's actually an Aston Villa account. Thanks so much for coming over and listening to us, mate. It says opinions on Callum Chambers. Obviously, he's just been signed over at Aston Villa. What are his best attributes? Because we have bought him as a backup at centre back for Tyrone Mings and Konza. Sophie.
His best attributes, that he is a hybrid player, a little bit like Phil Neville for Manchester United and a little bit like Maitland-Niles was for us. He's versatile. He can play right back, he can play centre back, he can play in the midfield as well. Everyone keeps raving about his season at Fulham. Let's be honest, that was a team that was relegated. So he was shining in a team that was very average that season. I think Callum Chambers has always been the consummate professional. And as critical as I have been of him, and I hold my hands up to that. But I think also it's deserved in the sense that I just expect more quality. I expect a little bit more. That was that period where we kept relying on him or Jenkinson, and then that evolved to, like the Holdings of the world and the El Nenis of the world. And I just think at some point we have to be a little bit more ambitious in our talent pool. Once you see players like Chambers perform, like Kolasinac perform, El Neni and the ones I've mentioned, you know that it's time to move on if you want to be competitive and, consistent in the Premier League. Now, that's not to say that he won't go to an Aston Villa team and do a good job, because he might fit into what Gerrard wants to do. It just always felt like he was maybe used too much as a hybrid player. He really couldn't nail down what's his position. He was always coming in to back up Bellerin at right back. He was always a substitute, in the centre back position. But he was always very professional. And I think that's one thing you could say. I know the Arsenal America group, like Tiff and Magic Mike, they love Chambers. They loved what some of those players represented when they traveled. And some of those players that have left really did do the club proud. But this is the Arsenal Football Club. And we have gone now 17 years without winning the league. I just want to start with being competitive in the league again, giving it a go, giving it a chance, being there year in, year out. Even if we miss out, that 2015 season was so painful. We could have won the league that season. And because of these moments where we fail to make big decisions and, pull the plug and invest, we miss out. And here we are on an opportunity to finish top 4. And I'm all about these players leaving, but we've got to be prepared to bring people in. And, I wish Chambers the best of luck. He's a good guy. He's one of football's good guys, that's for sure. And yes, I've been critical, but I'm sorry. That's just how I felt about him as a player at the Arsenal.
And they're fair comments, because I totally agree with you. I think that he does a job when he comes in, but he's not going to take us forward. He's not a player that I sat there for 5-6 years and thought, why is this guy not in the team? He's always injured for one. He's not a young player anymore, and he's certainly one that I feel needed to be moved out. But not in this window. Tom, I'm going to come to you. Callum Chambers is now gone. Pablo Maria is now gone. William Saliba is on loan. It means that we have Gabriel Ben White, and Rob Holding. Have I missed anybody else, or are we actually going to go the rest of this season with 3 centre-backs? Thoughts on Chambers and thoughts on a centre-back coming in?
I mean, I don't expect it to happen. I don't expect Arsenal to get one. I'm not, as I said before, I'm not hopeful for the rest of this window at all. So I don't feel like we're going to see Arsenal go into the market whatsoever. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But to let Chambers go, I get that Tomiyasu is an option and has played at centre-back for his national side, has played at centre-back for Bologna. But I just feel like that the other reasons that other people are suggesting, and I see Jay in the chat book says Rekic is a possible option, obviously playing at the AFCON. Again, Arsenal are going for top 4 this season. We've got a real chance to get it. Our best chance since I think 1920, or it was 1920, wasn't it? Or 1819, I think, when Emery missed out by just 1 point. Like, it's our best chance since then to get into top 4, and to first of all, to not obviously strengthen in the key positions that we need to strengthen is one thing, but to weaken other areas and not react, the summer built up confidence in me. Like, I respected what we did. I still felt we missed out on that key central midfielder, and that was something I criticised after the window shut. But I was encouraged by the signings that we made. I was encouraged by the change and the shift in the strategy, and it looked like, we were moving in the right direction. Things were turning, and that's why I sat on my channel and sat on Sophie's channel and have sat with you, Dan, a number of times and praised that work that went on. But I can't blindly sit after 27 days and see us shift out so many players to the point where we're, requesting postponements for matches because we don't have enough players to compete.
And how embarrassing does that look now, by the way?
I mean, I understood, obviously, we used the rules, and I thought that the reaction from the media was ridiculous. But to be honest, Arsenal dug themselves the hole. Like, we dug ourselves the hole to not play that fixture. And I was sitting there saying, I'm more than happy for us to play Spurs what we had. A Spurs without Heung-min Son, a Spurs that were vulnerable at that stage, I still thought. But no, like, we requested it, and it is what it is, and we'll face them when that comes. And there may be a Spurs with Son back and Luis Diaz in by that point, which is a very scary prospect. They're looking like they're strengthening, which is just rubbing salt in the wounds even more. But yeah, Dan, I just think that it's a window where everything that could have kind of gone wrong has so far.
Has so far. They've got a few days left to save it. But I just want to address a couple of things in the chat. Everybody that has left, I don't see with a future at Arsenal. That is not the question here. Nobody is moaning because of the calibre of player we're loaning out or selling. Yeah?
Correct.
It is the fact that we have got nothing at all coming in to replace it, or nothing currently at the club to replace it. Kev's in the chat and a few others saying, but Tomiyasu can play centre-back. That's great, but I don't want him to play centre-back. I want him to play right-back.
Because it means Cedric goes to right back.
Exactly. So we've got to play Cedric at right back. This is the problem. You need a centre-back to come in. You don't want to have a player that plays in 3 positions only. You need to have Tomiyasu, that's really emergency. Tommy can play there. We're weak at right back now, but Tommy can play there. That's fine, but it ain't like that. This is now moving our best right back into centre-back to then play Cedric, who, by the way, I think is worse than Callum Chambers anyway in that position because he makes ridiculous mistakes. So now we've got to play him at right back. This is just this ain't good stuff, is it?
Aren't you tired of putting square pegs in round holes? The teams at the top, the successful teams, they have their best 11, but they have, if it's not like for like, it's pretty close to a player who can come in. Every team needs a hybrid player. I mean, James Milner has been a sensation at Liverpool. And he can come in and do a lot of different things. But the way Klopp has built that Liverpool team, and the reason I think why they'd fallen off a little bit over the last season or so is because they have this best 11 and it's exhausting to play so consistently, to go deep into the Champions League, to play in the Club World Cup, to do all of those things. But we knew the best Arsenal teams, you knew who was your right back, who was your back line, your midfield, your striker. And now we're talking about maybe if we don't sign a striker and Lacazette can't score goals, we're going to go back to playing a false 9. This isn't Manchester City, And we still have a manager who's learning under pressurized and stressful situations. And we just can't continue to try and plug players in where, quite frankly, they don't belong.
So, is it fair to say that some of the players out on loan, albeit do not have a long-term future at the club, without possibly Saliba being the only one, they'd probably be doing a job right now, you right? Guendouzi would be doing a job. Torreira, well, does Saliba? I mean, so on paper he does. Whether Arteta believes he does or not is another question.
Do you think a player who we paid 27 million for, who's been on loan for 3 seasons, has a future at the club? Do we honestly believe that?
Do. Yeah, I personally
Why,
do.
Tom?
I find that incredibly hard to believe. And you know what? I'll eat my words if that happens.
Yeah, look, someone raised a really interesting point to me today. Like, obviously, Arteta and the club gets a lot of stick for kind of the Saliba situation. And right now, I'm on the side of the stick. Like, I criticise the way in which we've handled the situation. But interestingly, someone did raise to me the point yesterday. What if Saliba comes back? And it's a big if at the moment. I mean, we can all admit that it's a big if. What if he comes back next season after playing a year in France, playing every single game, after playing 6 months previous to that at Nice, playing every single game, and those 18 months of playing every single week in, week out, which wouldn't have happened at Arsenal, maybe not, has led him to become a much better player, and that when he comes back in for Arsenal and then say smashes it, at what point does then the conversation change? And at what point will we reflect on that and turn around and say, actually, we made the right decision by sending him out on loan for 18 months and he did really well? This is all hypothetical, but I'm just putting that forward.
I love playing the what if game, Tom. I really do. You could argue, you know, Tomiyasu never played in the Premier League, has come in and taken to it like a duck to water. I think Serie A a little bit different to Liga. You could also argue Saliba's faced some pretty, you know, talented forwards in Liga as well. Chris from a Burkout Wonderland will probably argue with all of us in terms of talking about the quality of Liga. The point is that 3 years for that type of investment, that is a huge, huge investment that we have made in a player that could have been part of the squad. He could have been playing in the Europa League last season. He could have been playing in the FA Cup. He could have been adapting to the style and the tone and the climate of the English game.
Is it because it's an Emery signing, Soph? Is it because it's an Emery signing?
I do believe that Arteta is very hell-bent on character. Now, I'm not saying Saliba's character is not on point. I'm sorry, but I do think that video played a huge part in him questioning his character. Now, that happened when he was young. He also lost, you know, his significant people in his life. And at the time, he was, 19 years old? You know, that is very difficult to overcome. We underestimate how that can affect someone, especially when they're far away from home. So he is, when he was at who was the player playing alongside Fofana, right?
Fofana, yeah.
And Fofana's come and he's injured now, but he's had a great time playing for Leicester, was given a chance under Rodgers through injury. And all I'm saying is that if we're investing 27 million in a player, surely you want that guy adapting to what it is to play in the English game, travel, be part of a squad and a team. And this is the toughest part, I think, for some Arsenal fans to swallow, right? I don't care how many goals Eddie Nketiah has scored in the League Cup. When you give Eddie Nketiah a chance, you know, and you don't give Pepe a chance, or you don't give Saliba a chance, and you don't allow Guendouzi to make it up to you or manage him or help him overcome his, you know, ability to be a complete dickhead. You know, when you wash your hands of certain players and stick with others, that, I think, is a valid criticism some Arsenal fans have of this manager.
When do you think accountability turns into a criticism of going against maybe what we're talking about there? Because I remember during the Arsene Wenger era, a lot of us rightfully criticised the lack of accountability in this team. Players taking liberties, having too much loyalty from Arsene Wenger. Is there an argument that we've gone, and we could have gone too far in the other direction?
Tom, I agree with you, but those were players that were trying to rule the dressing room, and they were older. Mustafi, Ozil, Kolasinac, you know, those types of players that we're talking about, right? and I'm not saying Guendouzi is the answer, but he's certainly turning up the heat in Marseille. He's in the French team, which, as we all know, to get into the French side, that is not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, right? Now, he behaved horribly at Brighton, and he behaved horribly when the team were in the Middle East. My point is that with a younger player, can you coach and put your arm around him? Raheem Sterling wasn't as easy. Maybe he didn't make the same mistakes as Guendouzi, but Pep Guardiola coached him. You know, we've seen Mason Greenwood. He didn't have an easy time off the pitch, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put an arm around him and was able to manage him. So if we're Phil Foden, look, yeah, absolutely. Look how Pep has dealt with that.
Why is this manager, name me another manager in 2 years of being in a job that's fallen out with 8 players and has had a team that's received 14 red cards? Like, what's going on here, man? Like, how can people come to me explain this? I don't understand why he's falling out with 8 players.
Pep, you know what, Dan? Pepe gets sent off. He gets slapped.
Slaughtered.
For it, right? Xhaka got sent off and got a pat on the bum on the way off the pitch. Xhaka gets sent off, who's supposed to be a leader in the group, and gets rewarded and gets given a new contract. And he's flirted with Jose Mourinho all summer. And I've defended Xhaka in the past. Talks about Rome being a beautiful city, flirts with, you know, the special once on Instagram. And that's the part I think that some Arsenal fans can't get their head around.
That's what it is. The lack of inconsistency. How could you say, oh, just Xhaka's a little bit passionate, that's why he got a red, and then slam Pepe, say it's unacceptable? How can you haul Nuno Tavares off after 31 minutes and then leave some of the players that have been absolute trash, like Eddie Nketiah and Granit Xhaka on for a whole 90 minutes? Aubameyang for 5 games in a row was dreadful. Didn't even get subbed. Yeah? Why is that? Explain that one. Defend that to me. No one can. Why is it that he's going to be hauling off players like Lokonga or putting him in an absolute mess of a situation, but he doesn't do that with some of the others? Why is it when he gets to Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who then says, man of the match performance, never to be seen again, and I'll tell you what, we'll get rid of you. You can just go as soon as you can, please, over to Roma. I don't understand all these decisions. There's so many of them now, and that's not even touching on half of the ones that have been really confusing by bringing on Kolasinac in 94th minute against Forest, only to give him to Marseille 3 days later. What's happening with this guy? Like, this is schoolboy stuff that no one can defend or explain. And when you try to ask people that are really interested in talking about...
Sophie really disagreed with your point there.
Yeah, Sophie disagreed so much, she said, see you later. I can't see how anyone... Yeah, that's cool. I don't see how anybody can sit there and defend some of these decisions. They are so... I don't even know the word for it. Like, Tom, I know you like the process and they're doing Arteta. You're kind of, you like it. But how? Explain to me what that's all about.
I feel like you're painting it in the wrong direction there, to be fair. Look, what I've said to you a number of times, saying I like the process, I said after Villarreal, we should have been sacked. I said after Manchester City, when we lost 5-0, we should have been sacked. So, like, let's not paint a picture that I've been, trust the process for years and years and years. I've not. I mean, I judge my opinion on Arteta based upon the results I see on the pitch, and those views change. And, people should be allowed, without criticism, to change their view on something based upon the evidence that's suggested towards them. I think that right now we sit in a place where there are elements of what Arteta and Edu have done that I took encouragement from, that was different to what had come before, that had led us into a more positive direction in regards to the players that we were signing in the summer of 2021. Previous to that, we made some errors. Willian, Sophie, as you point out, Cedric, Marie, those players, yeah, absolutely, and you're fair for calling them out. But the summer of 2021, it looked like we'd moved in a positive direction. We move now to January, and again, we're making errors. We're making mistakes. And that's why, again, the view will change, because the evidence and the up-to-date evidence that we have suggests that the opinion should change on that. I think people are far too quick to criticize someone for just trying to point out, say, a certain situation at a certain time, and for not actually taking a step back, looking at the situation as a whole and coming up with an opinion based on what you can see in the present moment compared to what you saw 6 months ago. And Dan, look, I'm with you on so many points that you've raised, and same with Sophie. Not 100% of them. Like, I personally feel like Saliba will come back. I have faith that he'll come back. I have faith that these 18 months on loan have done him really good, and he's improved in that time. And hopefully he's proven Arteta wrong if he does, in fact, not like him. And if he does leave in the summer and Arteta is still in the one that sells him, I'll be the first to jump on the train with you guys and absolutely blast that decision, because it would be ridiculous to do so, to let him go. But I think that there are some things that have gone well that I've highlighted. And I think that we're sitting here now in a league position where, ironically, the crazy thing is we have only played 2 league games in January. Somehow it feels absolutely dreadful. It feels like we're in a relegation battle.
I'll tell you what, though. Saka's definitely going to win goal of the month. That's all I know.
Oh, yeah, what a goal as well, eh? I'll tell you,
the only one
competition for that whatsoever. But yeah, look, we could be sitting here after, say, Wolves, which is a really, really important game.
Massive,
and if they win that, they go above us. And if they win that game, we are in a lot of trouble. Win that game away from home against a very good Wolves side, and suddenly, again, the conversation starts to shift, as it should do. Like, we shouldn't be married to a point of view that should never change. I do think that there are errors in the system, and I do think I've called out a number of times the times where I feel like he should have gone. And if we get to the end of the season, maybe this is a part of the conversation we'll come on to. If we get to the end of the season and we haven't finished in top 4, and this is where my opinion has shifted, because at the start of the season it was top 6. If we haven't finished in top 4, I feel like there is enough evidence over the course of the season to suggest that he probably should not deserve to stay in the role, and some other coach, a Ten Hag, for instance, should come in and replace him.
I just don't. Sorry, Dan. I was just going to add.
On,
I just don't think that you can lose the Arsenal Football Club European football, which was the first time in how many years, not get it back, and keep your job. I don't think
anyone can defend that. I think that's given, isn't it?
If
we come outside of Europe, wow.
And Tom brought up the Villarreal semis. To add to that, he got beaten by the man who he replaced. Yeah. And he played Xhaka at left back, which goes back to my square pegs, round holes thing.
Well, you think back to that January, Soph, and we let Kolasinac leave for loan on Schalke, and we didn't bring in a backup left back.
No.
And what are we doing now? Letting players go, and we don't look like we're going to replace them again.
And even funny, I think it was after we got knocked out against Villarreal that Arteta then put Bukayo Saka at left back. He did a blinder. He had an absolute blinder at left back.
Yes.
And if he'd have used that player in that position, because we had Pepe, I think, available, we had Smith Rowe. Why we didn't? And that's why, at that time, I said that we should change the coach, because all the evidence suggested that was the right decision.
No, I remember you come on and said that.
There's nothing more I would love for him to succeed, because if he does, my club does.
Absolutely.
This is what we all want, right? But there are certain games, you guys, that are going to come back to haunt us, and they are already, if you're looking at the table, not going in for the kill against Manchester United at Old Trafford. We showed them too much respect. Being beaten against Everton, and now you look at that Everton team, a shambles, right? Those results, the Burnley 0-0, that one probably the worst of all, the team rock bottom in the Premier League. Those games, those 3 games. And the reason why I don't think Manchester United are going to lose too many points between now and the end of the season, because they've got better quality than us. They may have been shit, but they've got this quality, and they've got a tactician who can adapt. In games, out of games.
He will get him.
Tottenham don't have a more talented squad than us. They may have better players in better positions, but they have a coach
who can adapt.
They've got the third best coach in the league. Absolutely. And that is why Moyes, I think, West Ham are the ones that I think can falter. But Moyes, again, adaptable, willing to change. There's just this experience factor that comes in. Look at the teams in the top. Look at the managers. They're all laden with experience. And I think at some point it comes into play.
Well, it definitely comes into play for me. I would go as far as to say, forget the ones that are in the top 6 at the moment. Look at the other managers who are definitely doing a better job with less resources and less players at the moment. Patrick Vieira is one. Ralph Hasenhuttl, how the hell does he do that every year with that team in Southampton? They go towards the relegation and they call themselves back out of it. Graham Potter is getting Mopé and Welbeck scoring, and we can't get Pepe, Nketiah, Balogun, Aubameyang or Lacazette scoring goals under Arteta. Then you look at what Bruno Lage is doing at Wolves. Everyone said, without Nuno, Wolves will struggle. This guy looks better than Nuno, in my opinion, the way they're playing. It's exceptional to watch. And then I look at Thomas Frank and what he's doing at Brentford, and I think, wow, how's he doing that with that squad? Those managers are all doing better than what Mikel Arteta is doing with £250 million spent. When you spend that much money, you shouldn't be worrying about finishing 7th or 8th again. You should be saying, we're definitely not going to finish 7th or 8th at least, because you spent the team's a lot better now. It's his team, which everyone wanted to see happening. We need to be looking at that top 4. The door's open. Conte's got the only reason Tottenham have got a chance is because they got Conte. What does that tell you? The manager's better. The only reason Ralph's got a chance is because he's better than Arteta. The only reason that David Moyes has a chance is because he's got the spirit alongside West Ham, and he's a better manager. What's he doing at West Ham now? Do you think he's not done this before? I remember in 2005 when he did it with Everton. So this is, for me, so clearly obvious that a Chelsea side that was a point below us or above us, was it, when Frank Lampard was there, then won the Champions League because they got a manager who's definitely better than Mikel Arteta in Thomas Tuchel. And now look at them. And they're starting to even, do you know what they actually said? Somebody told me that if they lost to Spurs, they were considering the future of Thomas Tuchel. That's how ruthless and gutless their owners are. Ours are offering them new contracts when they're sitting in like 7th place or whatever you are at the moment. So that's how different we are in terms of owner. Why it comes back to him. And that's why I'm looking at those owners on the board saying, what are you actually doing here long term? Because it's very, very worrying. I just got to answer this super chat because I haven't forgotten it. Wayne Sage is coming for me, but it's a super chat, so I'll read it out anyway and I'll answer it. It says, funny how Dan doesn't name Tommy Asu, Erdegaard, Gabriel, White, Ramsdale, Tavares or Sambi. Apparently the 2 clowns didn't have a great summer window. I never said they didn't have a great summer window, actually. I actually said they had a really good summer window and I was quite happy with it. Although there was a lot of people that think similarly to me in terms of opinions, but I personally feel that it was a successful summer transfer window. Why? Because we covered positions that we needed and upgraded on positions. Even Kolasinac leaving and Tavares coming in is better. Sambi, for me, is better than El Neni. Those positions have been upgraded. So far, I'm seeing a lot of outs and I'm not seeing any ins. So just because they had one good window in the summer doesn't mean they're going to have a fantastic January one either.
But also, we're out of both cups. Like, let's be honest, okay? Tomiyasu has been, for me, Ramsdale gets all the plaudits, but what a player Tomiyasu has turned out to be. And let me tell you, I'm more worried about this injury he has and going forward. I hope that he's missed the Japan qualifiers, Tom. I'm worried about him. He, to me, is so important to this team. You know, Ben White was humbled. He's laughing at Liverpool for missing an open goal, but then he's on his arse in the second leg. You know, these players they're going to learn. And you know what? They haven't achieved anything yet. Zero.
Jury's out on Ben White for me, man.
I like Ben White. I'm a fan of his.
Man.
But the point is that it was a humbling experience against Liverpool for him. You're not there yet to take the piss out of Liverpool Football Club when they miss an open goal. It came back to haunt you.
The Tomiyasu thing as well, and this goes against Arteta. Do you remember back to the North London derby during last season? What did he do with Thomas Partey? And yet against Liverpool, when in the game after, I think it was again, or to be fair, in games previous to that against Norwich, when Tomiyasu wasn't there, we played Holding and we played Ben White, as we did against Burnley, and yet. The need was felt to rush a really important player in Tomiyasu back into the Liverpool game. When, let's be real, like we were going to be under the cosh, and Ben White. I thought Ben White played really well at Anfield. I thought he was probably our best player on the night. I thought he was absolutely had an absolute blinder at Anfield. But why did we rush? We had Rob Holding on the bench that game against Liverpool when we went out. We could have played Ben White at right back, rested Tomiyasu, made sure that he was fine. But no, again, naively, we've chucked Tomiyasu back in. And look, one of the big credits I give to Edu is actually he's bought a load of players that will outlast this manager and any manager. Like the things in the past that we did in the market was we signed players that were married to the manager that they were brought in by. This group of players isn't. This group of players has got a longevity about them that will last through the next regime and maybe even the next regime after that. So that's something I do credit for. And I just hope that these naive, and they are naive, mistakes that have been made with Tomiyasu does not cost us, because that, again, was such a silly error on our part to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
I got everyone silent. That's an achievement.
Well, no, it's just like listen. There's two more things I want to bring up because we're going to come to a close soon. But my first question, I'll come to Sophie with it, is what do you see happening? and then we're going to talk a little bit about the long-term future of Mikel Arteta to kind of end on. So there's still some time left. A lot of Arsenal fans are very panicky. Some Arsenal fans are very relaxed and think it's going to be fine and we're going to get the players in. My two questions on this is, what do you see happening, and do you think we're going to get to the end of this window and think, oh, they've saved it, fair enough, I'm excited again? Or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, saving it is, as long as it's a saving of a long-term plan, I think then I'm into that. If it's a saving it, but we haven't really strengthened the squad to give us that improbable chance of finishing fourth, I'm not quite sure of. I was listening to Darren Lewis earlier on Talksport. They were doing a piece on transfers and stuff like that, and he was talking about, I can't remember, I think he said West Ham should go after Abu Bakar, who's scoring goals in AFCON. And I was thinking, you know what, he's 30 years old. I would bring him in for 5 months just to try and score goals for us. I think sometimes we're too snobby. We want the best and we want the answer now, whereas some clubs just definitely make decisions that will help them. And that's not about square pegs, round holes. That's about the right player coming in the right position at the right time to help the club move forward. There's reports here that from Taylor Twellman from ESPN that we've done the deal with Matt Turner. And I will say, you guys, the US men's national team plays in a World Cup qualifier tonight. If you're up at midnight in the UK, I don't know what time around the world that will be. He might be starting in goal. If not, it'll be Zach Steffen, the Manchester City goalkeeper. But he's a good backup.
What do you know about Matt Turner? What do you know about him? So?
Well, he's from New Jersey. He plays it for the New England Revolution. He won the MLS Supporters Shield this month. He's coached by the Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger in MLS, who's won, I don't know, like 10 MLS Cups. He also won 3 CONCACAF titles for the US men's national team. Matt Turner was the Golden Glove winner in CONCACAF last year. The US won that competition. It was a thrilling final. It was the shush moment for Pulisic. He plays with Zach Steffen, who is coached by Pep Guardiola and the understudy to Edison at Manchester City. When he comes into the national scene, he's surrounded by Pulisic. He's surrounded by Serginho Dest from Barcelona, Weston McKennie from Juventus, Tyler Adams from RB Leipzig, who I would love in our midfield, by the way, and I think is a really good player. There's this great crop of this young American team who I think could be very exciting in the World Cup later on this year. So he's 27, he's mature, he's a great shot stopper. I think he can improve with his feet, which the way Arteta wants to play, it's interesting. But he's a good guy. He's a gooner as well. He loves the club. He's been a supporter. But I think he's going to be a great addition to the squad. And God forbid if anything happens to Ramsdale. No, he can't, unfortunately.
Can you play it right back? No, he's let Chambers go.
But I like Matt Turner, and I think...
What's he like with his feet, Soph? How's he good with the distribution?
He's good. He's not as good as Ramsdale.
Or Steffen, from what I hear.
No, he's not as good as Steffen, but he's improved a lot. And playing for Bruce Arena, you need to be able to play that way, and especially playing for the US men's national team with those wing backs, you need to be able to play that way as well, Tom. So I think that's the area for him to improve, and he will. But he'll bring like a level head and a good experience, I think. And like I said, God forbid if anything happened to Ramsdale, I'd feel confident with him being in goal. As a shot stopper, he's brilliant. He really is. And I think people need to start respecting some of the US players a little bit more. If you're not watching some of these other leagues in Europe, you guys, you're missing out, because they definitely have an exciting squad.
Yeah, fair play. I'm a huge fan of Tyler Adams as well. I think he'd be a great player and can play in a few positions from what I hear. So that would be great. Tom, same question to you, man. I kind of asked you a bit earlier about how we'd save it, but what do you actually see happening, man? I know you're in the know a little bit more than me. So
yeah, look, honestly, I mean, after that Chambers news, who knows anything now?
Yeah, that was shocking, out the blue, wasn't it?
I think what that does actually say is that I think a lot of Arsenal fans obviously spend a lot of the time during the January and the summer windows scrolling and refreshing through their Twitter social feeds, and I've genuinely had a couple of people, and I won't name them because obviously for obvious reasons, but I had a couple of people message me genuinely asking me how they calm down, and that they're so angry right now. Which, and there is a moment of laughter, and there's another moment of, actually, no, the people are genuinely really getting affected by Arsenal's activity in the market. And to some people, that might be absolutely nothing. And it is to a lot of us, because we do our shows and we deal with that on a daily basis, and you know it is what it is. But if this window is, and Arsenal in general really does get to you and really is affecting you, then you need to have something else. You need an escape. You need to do something different and take your mind off things. Luckily, we've not got a game until the 10th of Feb, so you've got plenty of time to kind of recoup and refurb yourselves. But yeah, Dan, going back to your original question on that, I honestly don't think it's a mad prediction to suggest we don't bring anyone in. I'm not expecting, and I'm not going to be surprised if we don't bring anyone in. I'm going to be absolutely gutted and fuming at the fact that we haven't, and feel like we've absolutely wasted a massive opportunity to get into the top four this season and strengthen and to reinforce what we already have, and especially considering the controversy with Aubameyang and the controversies with other players, and with the COVID situation too, claiming, you know, random players every week. It's like you roll a dice and you lose, you don't know which player you're going to lose. So not being prepared for that in itself, and letting players like Marie and Chambers, who are all players that I don't think, you know, are here for Arsenal in the long term, will propel us to where we need to be. But it's just poor planning, and it's just naive to let those players go without having any kind of, you know, quality backup either being brought in or that's coming through behind them. And whilst I think, yeah, we've got some great guys coming through, but in a couple of years' time, not for this top four race right now. So my prediction is that we won't bring anyone in. I desperately hope I'm wrong, and I'm desperately hoping I'll sit here on the 1st of February looking back at a striker, a midfielder, and, you know, probably a defender now that we've let plenty of them leave.
Well, I'm going to disagree with Tom. I think that we will buy players because we simply have to. These goalkeepers.
The blind hope. We love it.
I know.
What was it you were saying about hope at the top of the show?
The hope kills you, mate. But I tell you, I cannot believe. I mean, I know they were rubbish, Edu and Arteta, and I knew they were incompetent, but I didn't think they were this incompetent. You cannot be this bad and not sign anyone after doing what they're doing. You can't get rid of all your players and try to accept that you're going for a top four fight. They are basically giving up at the moment by just throwing away their squad. Because as much as I don't rate the players, we need a squad. Yeah? So when you look at the bench against Burnley and you see a load of kids on it and you're still selling players, that to me is madness unless you've got a plan to bring 3 or 4 in. So I'm going to predict that we sign 2 or 3 players, but I do not think they'll be overwhelming as signings. I don't think we're going to see the likes of Alexander Isak or the Vlahovics that we were perhaps linked with. I don't think Bruno Guimaraes is looking likely. It's looking more likely that he's going to be yet again playing in colours black and white stripes. I said the other day jokingly that these black and white stripe teams are coming in and nicking the players we want, so I expect that Dominic Calvert-Lewin will probably ends up at Notts County at this rate. It's unbelievable the way that we're seeing these players that are just
we signed Sol Campbell from Notts County.
Do you know we did? So I believe that we will do something, and if we do not, I'm sorry, but I already want them out. But they've got to go. I mean, it is absolutely shambolic to do what they're doing and not bring anybody in. It's fair enough bringing players in the summer, but get rid of these players when we don't need them in the summer. Don't get rid of them now, ready to bring people in. The only thing I can think that logically should clearly be able to clear this up is that we're trying to clear off the wage bill so that we can bring a couple of big names in. That is the only explanation I've got for all this madness. And if that doesn't happen, then God help Arteta, be on his head be it, because it is an absolute shambles. For me to try and save this window would be the signings of, and I'm going to throw some names even if they are unrealistic, either Bruno Guimaraes or Bissouma. That would be a very good signing, even if unrealistic, if people think it is. That for me would be an upgrade on what we've got. In the position of Granit Xhaka, I don't want to see that guy anywhere near the side, but this manager loves him. And then up top, I think it's clear we need a striker because we're going into the summer with 0 strikers at the moment, believe it or not. This is the Arsenal, not Wigan. We have no strikers in the summer at the moment, so we need to bring one in. And it would be, for me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin would be a great striker. Alexander Isak I like, but I don't think is the style that we potentially need. I think we need a hold-up man, and I'm not so sure that he can do that. And the other player that people are talking about at the moment is the Napoli striker. And Tom, you're going to have to say his name. Osimhen. There we go. Osimhen, who is apparently playing very, very well at the moment and is a player that's on form. So one of those players may be likely to try and save the season. But let's be honest, Vlahovic and Bruno Guimaraes would, for me, been top 4, looking like we could really push for it. But that just doesn't look like it's going to happen. We now need another centre-back, in my opinion, and we definitely need to sort out this right-back nonsense if Tomiyasu not going to be fit. Because Cedric in our team, it all goes it all goes wrong.
Pt2.
I was going to say something else, but I won't swear. It all goes wrong when Cedric and Holding are in the team on that right-hand side. It's quite hilariously funny trying to watch them play football together. It's quite bad. So, lastly, and we have hit an hour mark. We've got 730 of you in chat live. Please smash the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please go and follow the Highbury Squad and do the same over there. And of course, the Gooner Talk TV with Tom. Guys, let's start with you, Tom. What happens with Mikel Arteta this season in your prediction mind? And what's a realistic what's a realistic outcome? Yeah. What's a realistic outcome for Arteta's future this season? What's the do's and don'ts here for his long-term future for you, Tom?
Trying to predict what this season does, without knowing what we're going to do at the end of this window, is near impossible. I have, if on the basis that we don't bring anyone in, getting top 6 is going to be a challenge. And the reason why I think just top 6 will be a challenge is not only because of the quality of the teams that we're in competition with, but also the fact that we're a Lacazette injury away from Eddie Nketiah being our starting striker for the rest of the season. You get an ACL, you get a torn hamstring, even just a pulled hamstring, you're out for 4 weeks. And with Aubameyang's situation unclear, Nketiah could genuinely be that player, which is why it's still so maddening that a striker's not been brought in. If I maintain this now, Dan, I'm on board with you. If we don't finish in the top 6, I think it is absolutely 100% a sure argument that someone else should take over this role, and the prediction will be for me that we finish 6th in the table. So that's what I'm saying. Did I cover all the bases?
Yeah, I think you did, mate. I think it's a fair comment, and I think it's very very articulately done as always, Tom.
Thanks, bro.
Sophie, I'm going to give you the same question. I don't know if you agree or disagree with Tom here, but I think personally that it's a good question to ask roundabout now that we're halfway through the season. The transfer window is looking to nearly be closed. Where do you stand on Arteta currently?
Firstly, I'd love Arteta and Edu to pull off one of those. Do you know, I love the Cavani signing for United. He's been so good for them in so many different ways. I would like us to go make Zlatan an offer he can't refuse. You know, if you want to qualify for top 4, you need somebody to come in and you need them to bang in the goals, have bravado and hit the ground running right away. Calvert-Lewin, I'm sorry, I don't see it. You know, you could talk about Bruno. He's never played in the Premier League. You know, you're talking about assets and players, you know, where in the position that we are in, that really haven't been there before. And I think now we're in that position where we're fighting against West Ham, we're fighting against Tottenham, and we're fighting against Manchester United. I can't see us finishing. I'm sorry to say this out loud, people. Something about Antonio Conte that I think somehow, some way, he'll get this average Tottenham team to finish above us. And at the beginning of the season, I predicted that we would finish above them and St Totteringham's Day would be back. I think West Ham is the team that we can finish above, but I think it's going to be really tough. And I think it's a sackable offence to not get this team back into Europe. And I don't want to be in the European Conference. I'm talking about getting back into Europe, being in the Europa League or the Champions League. Not because we can win them, but because what it brings into the club from a fiscal perspective and how we can reinvest. We've already fallen behind the football Joneses in a long way. Another season out of Europe doesn't help us at all.
I 100% agree. This is where I'm at. It won't come as a shock to anybody, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you are in Europe, and if Arsenal were in Europe, I would accept that this squad would probably be in the top 6, right? Going for that position. When you're out of Europe and you've spent £250 million, getting back into the Europa League is poor. When you look at the teams around us, West Ham, Manchester United, Spurs, I do not look at them and think, whoa, I only wish we could be as good as those. I look at them and I think, they're to be got at. 100%. Only last week, if we would have won 2 of our games, we would have been a point behind Chelsea, but we couldn't, because we couldn't beat 20th team in the league without Maxwell Cornway, Chris Wood or Ashley Barnes. This is what we are going to be like. And this is why, If he doesn't get in the top 4, we need to move on, because I know a lot of managers right now that I would have faith in pushing this team towards the top 4. The reason we're not going to get top 4 is because of this guy. Because for every performance against Man City that people get excited about, that we actually did lose, by the way, let's not forget, there's always an Everton result. For every game where we go really, really toe-to-toe with a big side, everyone gets excited, there's always a Burnley result. For every Villarreal result, for every Burnley at home result, for every last season's results that we were losing to absolute shambolic at home, there's always those inconsistent performances. And why? Because the process is full of inexperience on and off the pitch. And what comes with what comes with inexperience is inconsistency, incompetence, up and down, bumps in the road is all we hear. There's going to be bumps in the road. I've seen so many bumps in the road in the last 2 years, and I don't want to see any more. Unai Emery and Arsene Wenger would get this 11 into the top 4. The irony. It is unbelievable that we are going down this route and that Stan Kroenke is not being told to get out, that Josh Kroenke is not being questioned. Even this month, it's all about Stan again. Now, this guy has apparently now taken full ownership of Arsenal, according to some fans. That Edu has done 4 days left of work for him to come up with any incoming signings. The Arteta, we've seen 2 years of inconsistent performances, and he's still here. And last of all, our fan base, who have been accepting this for so long now, and I've just been told when you don't accept it, you're either toxic or you're negative or you're part of the problem. Why can we not unite as a fan base and ask for more? One, raising the standards of the Arsenal that we all loved in the 90s. Why are we no longer a fan base that does not accept what is happening right in front of our eyes? That we stand out and protest only a few months ago, it seems, and all of that's disappeared now and we're happy. Why are we happy again? Because I tell you now, I and quite a few others that I know and speak to regularly are not happy with this nonsense. So let's show them that we're not happy. Let's not just accept it and say that it's a process and it's going to take 5 years. Because let's be honest, people, we've done this twice already. We did a process which was very similar with Project Youth, with players called Fabregas and Van Persie, who, by the way, ended up going to Barcelona and Manchester United, who we were told we'd be competing with 15, 16 years ago when we moved to the Emirates, knocking down Highbury, the stadium that got us to a Champions League final against Barcelona. Never been anywhere near one since we come into the Emirates Stadium. Why are we accepting this? This is not right under this ownership. It's not being run properly as a club. We've got a shambolic manager who keeps making the same mistakes with misman management, with inconsistency. Raise the standards of this football club. There are 2 clubs right now that can sit there and say that the history of their football in England is better than ours, and that's Liverpool and Manchester United. So if you want to add Chelsea and Man City and Newcastle into the next 5 or 6 years, feel free, because they'll be right up there. But we need to be right up there with them. And the only way we're going to do that is by getting rid of this owner and getting somebody in who cares to employ Arsenal men on our board and get a winning mentality manager who's proven, like a Diego Simeone, who right now, let's be honest, we could get, because everyone said Conte would never come to Arsenal, and now he's managing Spurs. As for my prediction this season, I think we will finish 7th and end up in the Europa Conference League. That's what I think will happen this season. We will finish below West Ham, below Manchester United and below Spurs. And trust me, 4th place will be Antonio Conte's Tottenham Hotspur. What a way to finish a podcast. Guys, it's been dramatic. It's been very panic stations at times. And it has been pretty doom and gloom in parts. Let's hope the next 4 or 5 days we can turn it round, get some players in at the Arsenal and start to go on some form of consistent run. But I do, of course, have my doubts. Thanks, everyone in the chat. Thank you all so much. It's been great interaction in the chat tonight. Thank you all for your super chats as well. There's over 800 of you listening at one stage. It's great numbers, and we love providing the content if you keep coming back, which is all good. Please make sure you come and follow Sophie and Tom. I'm going to thank them both now and ask them how you can follow them on social media. Tom, starting with yourself. Thank you so much for tonight, mate.
Thank you for having me on, mate. Really appreciate it. Chatbox, always a pleasure. You can find myself at the Gunner Talk TV on Twitter, and you can find me doing a transfer show every morning, painfully at 8 a.m. UK time. So that's where you can find it. Thanks again, Dan. Thanks, Soph.
Mate, thank you, Tom. Sophie, over to you, man. How can people follow you?
Listen, if you're going to spare a thought for anyone during this transfer window, it is Tom. 8 a.m. every morning, double duty, double days. You can find us at Highbury Squad, and give us a shout on YouTube. Check out our channel. Thanks for having me, as always. Much appreciated, and well done, everyone in chat. Some good conversations going on in there.
Excellent stuff. Thank you all for joining Lead Judges TV. This has been an episode number 25. Believe it or not, we are getting there and we are growing. Thank you all so much for your support. We do love it, and thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I can only apologise that Lead Judges has been out and about tonight and wasn't able to get back in time. However, we will be back very, very soon with more content, and we'll be doing some different things over the coming days and keeping you up to date with the transfer news and transfer window. Until then, take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Up the Arsenal.